Well, they're at it again, playing the for the kids card, this time at the national level. Yeah, sure. What could be trendier than raising cigarette taxes to fund kids' health insurance, after all? Resisting the temptation to digress on whether we're a pedarchy, or pedarchy if you prefer, Pedarchy, Google it if you have to, or a nation of displaced pedophiles, in the psychiatric sense of displacement, of course. But the way kids are catered to and courted makes one wonder. It can't just be for all the money they somehow wind up having to spend. Anyway, let's try to do a little, you should pardon the expression, thinking about whether it makes sense to shear my particular flock of sheep once again in aid of another alleged good cause. Turns out I've had a fair amount of practice in that arena, reluctantly residing, because the house is paid for, in what I call Lotus Land, some call California, and others Californicatia, where the state motto would be sheep are for shearing, if anybody knew the Latin. The worst of the lot was Robert Reiner, who back in '96 parlayed his inexplicable celebrity into a 50 cent a pack tax on cigarettes to fund early childhood development, whatever that is, and anti-smoking propaganda. I suppose it would be ad hominem if I said that meat isn't the right word to use before head in his case, but he is a robber. As I tried to point out at the time, but the media weren't listening even then, hitching your funding to a source you're trying to eliminate is either idiotic or hypocritical if you're really more interested in funding the propaganda than funding the cause. But it doesn't really matter whether the latest madness of the Meanwells also dedicates some of their haul to anti-smoking propaganda, nor why some of the billions and billions of dollars the tobacco industry has to pay supposedly to compensate the states for the health care burden of smoking isn't being used for kids' health insurance in the first place. It actually gets spent on things like repairing the sidewalks in Los Angeles. Honest, I read it in the Los Angeles Times. The real point goes far beyond the idiocy of tying your funding to something they're trying to wipe out, even if the latest good cause doesn't include money for future further brainwashing of the public. The real point, and the reason why I call this taxes and death, is that if you believe the everybody knows that smoking is death, even if you don't waste some of your money actively trying to decrease your funding, you're supposed to believe the suckers are going to die real soon anyway. Think about it. Forget about how unfair it is to keep shearing the same sheep. After all, we're sinners. We practice a vice. We shudder, enjoy smoking. No, focus on the idiocy, whether or not this batch are also hypocrites, of erecting a skyscraper on a foundation that's being taken away even as you add more stories to it. Then sing after me. They're hypocridiots. That's what they are. Cheers.